Creative self-expression is a really, really wonderful thing. If you can be liberated and you can be really knowing of yourself and really secure within yourself, so much so that you can shine your light brightly, but you're not egoic, you're not seeking external validation, you're not seeking validation, you're not seeking permission from others, you're not seeking all of this recognition to be on you entirely, where you're not honoring others' light. You're not allowing others to shine their own light. You're not allowing all this kind of thing, and understanding what true leadership is, and understanding how to be disciplined and responsible when it comes to creative talents and creative abilities is really what it all comes down to when it comes to Saturn in the sign of Leo in the natal birth chart. I'm Everett Carty, and I want to welcome you to the Cosmic Sky Podcast, where I discuss astrology, and every Saturday I do a general astrology video where I discuss a certain planet in a certain sign, or in a certain house, or also another aspect going on entirely astrologically, or something else that's related to astrology going on here. So in this episode, this really, really in-depth episode of this podcast, I want to go deep into the fiery waters, so funny, fiery waters into Saturn and Leo, and really get to the root of all its issues, of all its challenges, of all its problems, and try to dispel this for you, and try to really, really get to the highest and most evolved expression, because ultimately, we want to get to the crystal mountains and climb up to the highest expression of all that we are doing. And we want to do is we want to try to evolve what needs to be really evolved. And that is really to release the shadows of all that we've experienced in our lives. And I aim to support you in helping to release your shadows and heal your wounds with all of these videos. Delving into Saturn and Leo, I want to get really, really into it. I want to get right into it because there's a lot of information that I want to discuss here with this placement, and really, really let's dive in. So the very, very first thing is let's talk about I want to break this down in a lot of different stages. In a lot of different parts and little pieces to sort of break down the story of how this all plays out in a way. So, growing up, let's just start here, because I want to break down the different stages of Saturn and Leo and the different sort of phases of evolution from the beginning to the middle to the end to see how it evolves throughout. So I'm going to start at the beginning with the childhood. So, growing up. Growing up, Saturn and Leo people felt invisible. They didn't feel seen. They didn't feel like their creative talents and abilities were acknowledged for what they are. Everyone pushed those talents aside, said they're worthless, said they're a waste of time, said they're meaningless, said they're not really you being your best self. And how are they to say that? They don't know you, they don't know what you're experiencing and all that. And they're not living in your skin, to know what that experience is like for you. What you really, really want to express from your heart and in your mind with all of what you're doing with that creative talent and with that creative ability. So that's where this sort of conflict and issue can come about, where all the creativity becomes rejected, it becomes squashed, and everything becomes pushed aside. You get pushed aside when it comes to creativity. The creativity really gets pushed to the back burner. Your creativity and leadership and expressing what you want to from your heart, expressing your heartfelt joy, gets put on the back burner and gets deemed as, worthless or whatever, as not a necessary thing to really, really delve into with really, really maximizing someone's creative potential. And so this becomes a very, very big issue for the individuals that have Saturn in Leo, is all this creativity just is, it's just meaningless. It's all meaningless, and there's no care for it, really. So confidence is seen as arrogance. If you just express the feeling that I believe in myself, or I feel so good about myself, or I'm so strong with this, or I'm so wise in these areas, then it could be seen as arrogance. Then it could be overly confident. And for those with this placement, you were not worthy of expressing your heartfelt joy. What you really enjoyed from your heart, what you really find beautiful and fun and light-filled and abundant and luxurious, wasn't allowed to shine, wasn't allowed to be celebrated, wasn't allowed to be put into motion because of this limiting belief that you couldn't really express it. So that's what comes about here really, really strongly with this placement, is just not feeling worthy for expressing this out. And so you weren't allowed to take up space. And everyone is really worthy of taking up space and being their true selves, and being, we're all worthy of really living in this reality fully. And so they were told that their light and their joy of their creative self-expression basically was just too much for this world, too much, that they couldn't express what they really wanted to from their hearts, that it really was unnecessary, that they didn't feel worthy to express what they wanted to express from their hearts, what they wanted to express in terms of creative self-expression. They kind of felt this need to tame down this quality so that others felt comfortable. If I dim my light, and if I stay small, and if I just go along to get along, and if I have no power, if I'm weak, if I'm subservient, if I'm just following the rules and doing my job and being dutiful and being diligent and taking responsibility and minding my own business and not sharing my confidence or not sharing my creative abilities, then I'll be okay, and everyone will like me, and then others will feel comfortable at that. Others will like that. Others will approve of that. So you're learning in this life not to dim to fit in. You're learning to embrace the spotlight, but not seek it for narcissistic, egoic qualities. That's what I'm going to get into later. So you may have had parents who were not accepting of you as you were at the time, as you truly are, with your authenticity, with what you really wanted to express. It's very, very much in this quality of parents not really seeing you, for who you really are, in all those kind of ways. And, they're just not accepting you. They're just not allowing you to be yourself. They're just not coming to terms with who you are and integrating it and, allowing you to be your true self. You may have grown up in an environment where people made fun of or ridiculed your self-expression. Where, you did, I really, really feel for you. I really, really do. because your parents rejected your self-expression. They didn't allow it to be there. They didn't allow you to express what you wanted to creatively. Where your creative gifts were seen as showing off. You were seen as just showing off these creative gifts. Showing off all these creative talents instead of just, because all you wanted to do was express all these creative gifts, express all these talents and unique gifts and abilities that you had so much inside yourself. And it was seen as showing off, seen as you bragging, you being arrogant, you being selfish. And it was very, very embarrassing, possibly. It was seen as embarrassing to your family or your friends growing up in your early life. Saturn represents the wounds that you inherit, these messages that you internalize at an early age because you weren't worthy of something. You weren't worthy of this and that and the other. And so you internalized, all of these wounds that I'm not good enough and I have to stay small in this area, and being told that you couldn't have this, or not this enough, or you're not that enough, or you're really not living the right mature life. When really we have to redefine that in 3D to what maturity actually is, and these were the wounds that are too bad to be true, because all these wounds, childhood wounds that you got from this are really not true. They're not really true about life. So, and these things were not seen as mature, necessarily speaking. And so you hide your creative projects away. You hide them away. You hide your work away. You do creative things. You do, express through art. You express through music. You express all these things, and you hide it away, as opposed to openly sharing it, as opposed to being very, very open and being willing to share all of these things in a generous, heartfelt way. Don't we want to feel that we have value to life? Don't we want to feel like our contributions matter, that that when we share something, that it's seen and recognized and appreciated and loved? And so you felt like you had to do all these creative things, but you couldn't share it. You couldn't let anyone know about it. And they don't want recognition for their efforts. The thing about being trained out of wanting recognition for your efforts, wanting all this recognition for every effort that you do, and not wanting it because you were told that it's selfish and it's narcissistic and it's needing external validation. Oh, it's not good or whatever. Oh, you can't have this. It's like Saturn gives you a block. Gives you a block. It shows you what you really, really want to work for, because it shows you the area of life, and the quality of how it is expressed, where you can't have this because you were limited in this area, you were restricted, and you were there was a block, there was an obstacle, and you couldn't have the thing. You couldn't experience the thing. So, not wanting this in your life. There's a fear of being seen in the spotlight also with this, very, very strongly. Fear of being seen in the limelight of your life and shining. There's a message that you internalized. And, the message is that modesty is seeking acknowledgement. That modesty, to be modest. Do not seek acknowledgement, because seeking acknowledgement is narcissistic. And then you don't really need validation. That your talents should speak for themselves. So, here's the fact, Saturn and Leo. You don't need validation. But that doesn't mean that you need to keep in your creative gifts, your creative talents, your creative hobbies, your heart's joy. But you don't need external validation to give you satisfaction on the ego level. No. So, that your talents, taught that your talents should speak for themselves. That these talents should be very, very self-serving, in a way, if I came across that word, but speaking for themselves. You can express this talent, but you can't give yourself praise with how good you feel about it. With how confident you feel about it. With how worthy you feel about it. And all these kind of things. The talents should speak for themselves. That you can't say, oh, look at me, I did this really, really great thing. Oh, look at me, I did that really, really great thing. And you're feeling really, really good about it within yourself. Individuals with displacement find this issue. Whenever they attempt to create something, whenever they intend to come up with something, they can't just be spontaneous, free, and creative because of an inner critic that holds them back. Because of this inner critic that tells them you're not good enough. You're not adequate enough. You're not worthy enough of expressing your creative self. You're not worthy enough of expressing this creativity out to the world. So you have that message, you have that critic that holds you back. Some don't want to see themselves in authority positions. Sometimes you don't want to be in these high authority positions of power, and you're worried that you won't be an effective leader in these positions. But you're really, really learning what it means to be a true effective leader in your life and what being an effective leader really is about, and I'm going to discuss that here. So not wanting to be in these authority positions, in these, states of being in a way. There's this struggle with confidence, struggle with feeling self-assured about yourself, where you struggle to trust your judgment of going at something like, is this the right thing? Does this really feel right? Will this help me to express myself fully and openly and authentically? And you're acting on desires and giving, it's about acting on your own desires and giving yourself permission to express your heart's joy. Express what you truly want to express. What you authentically want to express inside yourself. Your true joy. Instead of seeking validation from others. Instead of wondering to others if I am worthy of expressing my creative self, my creative talents. Can I do this? Am I worthy enough? Am I allowed? So not seeking validation. It's about taking your talents and turning them into real, tangible achievements. By taking all these talents that you're so good at, these creative talents that you want to hide away. You don't need to hide them away. The creative talents that make up who you are, that define who you are. And they really, really, make you into the person that you are with how they make you special, how they make you unique. And it's about turning them into real achievements. Being that in that way about it. And, you struggle with comparing yourself with others. You really, really struggle with that. The struggle with, comparison, comparisonitis. Where you are hurt by others' success, feeling that their success is more worthy of being celebrated, of being acknowledged, of being looked at, and for its greater good. than your own success. There is this feeling that comes in here very, very strongly, where you're not secure enough inside yourself to really feel that your creative talents are good, are excellent, are right up there, are worthy of being acknowledged, are worthy of being celebrated, that you are strong in these creative talents. And so you're hurt by others expressing their creative talents, and you're hurt by if they should ever be successful, if they should ever be successful and get the success and recognition for their talent, you feel like it's outshining yours, you feel like it's outdoing yours, you feel like it's taking away from your light, and then the jealousy and the comparison just sets in, and then it gets into the ego, and then we need to reduce it down back to the soul. So there's this feeling like other success holds you back from shining your light. Feeling like when others express their success, then you can't be as successful. You can't be as bright. You can't be as worthy. There's this insecure sense of self that comes in here. You feel like you're lacking in certain skills, such as creativity, joy, or expressing your joy. Really, really lacking in all these things when it comes to what you want to express creatively and in a very, very happy, like, what turns you on, Saturn and Leo? What makes you feel happy? What makes you feel just what lights you up? What gives you passion? What gives you zest for life and love and passion? Like, these videos really, really give me passion for life. And so it's about expressing, expressing what it is from your heart that you want to express when it comes to that joy. Feeling so secure in yourself. You know what? I do feel good about myself. And I like, in my heart energy, I'm open to others sharing their expressions because I'm curious about it. I'm interested about it. Look at what they're doing. It's really, really neat. But I'm doing something great also. They can shine and I can too. We can both shine in the spotlight. We can both share the spotlight and be very, very bright and bold and courageous and dynamic and big and loud in terms of our energies. So it can be both and. It doesn't have to be you shining and the other person not, or the opposite. So it's about not continuing to avoid the creative expression, the creative expression, but expressing your creative self, authentic self, in whatever ways that are true for you. In whatever ways that are really, really true for you in your life. And only you know those ways. I can't list out those ways for you. This is about building up self-confidence through patience and discipline over time. Building up the self-confidence to really, really be very strong within yourself, to do all these things very, very effectively, very, very, naturally. And it takes work to build up your creative talents and do all this with that. And it does require discipline. It does require you to show up consistently to whatever field that you get involved in, to be open to feedback. And feedback, you don't have to, apply the feedback. It's just about being open to the feedback. And really, the truth is, everyone is worthy of creating expression. Everyone is worthy of creative expression. Of expressing, what their heart's desires say, what their souls say, that they want to express what they want to express from that heart-centered place. It just takes practice to do it. It just takes, you being very, very skilled and disciplined at your craft and becoming good at it. That's what Saturn teaches you, is practice. And so a good leader, understanding what a good leader is, getting out of this belief that a good leader means just going to be very, very narcissistic and going to be, very, very egoic and all about him or herself. A good leader wants to make a positive impact on others. Making a positive impact on others. That's what it really, really is about. And supporting them. You're really, really looking at redefining leadership and seeing that it is for the greater good of the all, for the greater good of the group, that it is for others, that you can help, that you are worthy of leading in a way where you serve others to something for the good of the group. You can use your creative talents for the greater good. Using these creative talents for that is very, very huge for you to step into this kind of energy when it comes to this easily. So how can you use your creative talents for that? It's about setting realistic creative goals and achieving them with determination. Saturn teaches you to not give up, to stay committed to that goal, whatever that creative goal is, if it's painting, if it's, drawing, or if it's cooking, or if it's music, whatever that creative goal is, it is about achieving it with determination. It's about creating a solid foundation for your ideas, creating that where you can build your ideas off of, creating that foundation where you start at the bottom. Like, we all need a good solid foundation for our ideas. We start at the bottom and we go all the way up. And, we build that confidence, we build that skill. But, we start at the root of where these ideas come from. Are they just egoic ideas? Or are they really, ideas from your heart? It's about blending structure and creativity together. And also between partners, you can form mutual respect between partners. Mutual relationship is one where the two partners support each other very, very easily. And, where they're being kind to each other, where they're being loving to each other in very, very heartfelt, soul-centered ways. Where they are, loving each other equally in a very, very loving, deep, caring ways toward each other, not hindering their own growth. So boundaries help your talents to grow. Boundaries help your talents to become better and to advance and to really, really go at that direction. Where your boundaries, you really, really, say, I'm having this set of limits to help me to grow. You can use your power for others' benefit, really. You don't have to just use it for yourself and your own personal gain, your own personal worth. Well, not that exactly, but for your own personal egoic gain. It's about getting out of the ego. Using your power for the benefit of others. And knowing that it's not narcissistic to be a leader. Being a leader is not just a self-centered, egoic thing where one leader is just taking all the power and consuming all the power and is a power monger and stripping others of power. Where you're helping others grow as opposed to demanding that they have all the attention. That's what a true leader is. True leader cares for the group, values the group, supports the group, makes a difference in the group, thinks of its group before itself, and it leads from a place of love, and it leads from its heart. Helping others to grow as opposed to demanding that they have all the attention. It's not about the leader getting all this attention and all this fame and all this ego recognition. It is about the group benefiting from this. An effective leader focuses on creating positive outcomes for the group that does not feed the leader's ego. That's what it's all about. The group way before me in terms of not your real soul sense of self with what you want to creatively express, but your false sense of self. True leadership is not unethical. It is, we have leaders in society today that are very, very strong within themselves, that are very, very ethical within themselves with what they decide to do, with what they decide to act upon, and their talents and their gifts and their abilities. And it is not wrong. It is not, bad to be a leader by any stretch of the imagination. There are bad leaders who do it for egoic and narcissistic gain, but there are also those who lead from a place of soul and a place from heart and thinking of the greater good before themselves. It's also about being with others who see you for who you are, not being with those who limit your power, limit your creative abilities, and limit what you're good at, what your potential is, what you're already famous at, what you're going in the high hills for to achieve. But being with those who see you for who you are. Seeing you for who you are is really, really important. To have people that can genuinely recognize you for the beautiful, creative self that you are is really, really going to make a difference, and really, really is going to touch your heart and bring you joy and encourage you to keep being your creative self, expressing that joy into the world. It's about pursuing your creative passions very, very effectively and easily, and with joy. Doing something not for the recognition of it, not for the validation of it, but because you enjoy it, because it gives you genuine, heartfelt joy to do it. So pursuing these passions, whatever it is, art, building, cooking, making videos, whatever this creative passion is, you are allowed and you are worthy to pursue this. It also takes the understanding to know that worth is intrinsic. Worth is an intrinsic thing. Worth is not something that doesn't have to be earned through effort, recognition. It is something that can be given. It can't be just given to you. We all are worthy. Rather than accomplishment. You don't get worth through accomplishment. And you deserve to, they deserve to, you deserve to really take up space and exist in all those profound ways. Everybody deserves to take up as much space, and you deserve to take up as much space as you possibly can. Have as much space as you possibly can. Because you are worthy of being your creative self, being your authentic self, expressing your creative gifts. And you don't have to prove yourself through validation from others, or creative efforts, or any effort that you can do. You are worthy, and you are beautiful. And you express from your heart that creative gift already, that you already have within you. It doesn't need anyone to validate it or any effort to make it a reality. Creative self-expression is very, very, beneficial to you if you don't need anyone else to notice, if it serves you on a heart and soul-based level. That's what it can really, really come down to. Where creative expression, creative self-expression is very, very important, without needing really anyone to notice, anyone to see it, anyone to validate it. Journaling in your journal, something that you're expressing for yourself, singing a song and not publishing it, writing a book and not publishing it, making a dish and not sharing it, painting something and not showing it off, singing and not putting yourself out there. This heals you. This heals you. When it comes to expressing this very, very proudly and loudly, it can come through being very, very huge about yourself when it comes to expressing your creative self, your authentic self, sharing your unique light with the world. and not needing anyone to validate it. That's what it really comes down to. So it's about connecting to your inner child. Your inner child is that part of you that just has creative joy, creative spark, creative enthusiasm. And your inner child does not need external approval. Your inner child just has permission to be itself, because it validates and it loves itself very, very easily. It validates itself. It's just basic part of you that wants to create, that wants to experience joy and love and beauty and shine your light. So this Saturn placement is learning to shine your light authentically. You don't need external validation to feel worthy. You don't need this to feel worthy. No, you do not. It is not necessary for you to feel needing to feel worthy because of this external validation. Just do something that gives you creative joy. Do something that just because it gives you joy to do it. That gives you life force to do it. That gives you life force energy. That gives you, just makes you feel happy. You're expressing it from your heart. You're expressing it from your, your inner child self. And, really, really doing it in a way that feels true and authentic to you. When it comes to that, not needing external validation to feel happy. Self-love is very, very, very important with this placement, to really, really feel a solid sense of self-love. Loving yourself on a heart and soul level is what it really, really comes down to. That is huge. If you can accept yourself and allow yourself and give yourself the space to express these creative gifts openly, without inhibitions, without any conditions holding you back, is really, really the high road of this. You really, really have a lot of compassion for others, including yourself, and not being so attached to partners. Compassion for yourself, and not necessarily possessing them, not necessarily having the control over them. The control over them, for them to validate all of these needs that you have for recognition, for attention seeking, for the ego. You want to fulfill your heart and soul with creativity, not the ego. That's the low road of Leo, is falling into the trap of the ego and not the soul. Expressing love that you feel for others through your heart, not necessarily your mind, not necessarily your ego. Not that, they are just something to serve your ego. Human beings are separate. Separate beings with separate soul paths, with separate, ways of being that are very, very different from you, that are very, very loving and honest and authentic. And, we need to love and appreciate and honor those paths and those soul talents for what they are, and really, really acknowledging that and not dimming and taming it down. Where you are loving them for who they are. When you're in your heart energy, you allow them to be in the spotlight. You allow them to shine their light equally. You don't hold them back from that. And then it comes back down to egoic validation for humility. It's very, very huge. There's this, egoic validation for, all this. There's this need for humility, basically. This need for to be humble. And what does it mean to be humble? Viewing yourself objectively. Acknowledging your strengths. Accepting your limitations. You are not this creative, infinite being that can do all these things. And it's an ego thing. And humility comes from the heart. It really, really comes from that place of love and care for others, and love for others in a heart-centered way. And you can have humility when you have a secure sense about yourself, that I feel so secure about myself. I feel authentic to be in myself and to express my creative gifts and to do all these creative talents, where I don't have to be egoic and seek attention, because I validate it within myself, and I feel secure enough, and I don't have to be a power monger for validation. So it can be very much about accepting others for who they are and allowing them to shine their light. So not dimming your light. But authority is a serious thing that anyone is worthy of being. Anyone's worthy of being in control. Anyone really is. It does carry responsibility to it. Authority is not exempt from responsibility. No authority figure is not exempt from the responsibility and the role and the duty to their people, to who they're leading. They're not exempt from that. They have to lead from that place of heart and soul and love and integrity. So it's about feeling so secure within yourself that you shine bright and allow others to shine bright as well. To really, really be your true self, and let others be their true self, shine in their creative light. Saturn in Leo learns to become, very, very dependent upon themselves, as opposed to needing everyone's permission, because they're developing the skills necessary for a certain craft. Developing these sets of skills, becoming good at a certain creative craft, they really step into their creative potential in a lot of ways. And it deals with having expertise on something through doing what you're passionate about. I'm passionate about cooking, so I'm going to work. I'm going to become very knowledgeable, very skilled, very wise, very, very expert level, and excellent at cooking. And then I can share my expertise freely and openly. This is my creative passion, and I'm sharing this openly. True leadership is for the good of the group rather than ego power domination. That's what you're learning about leadership. You can discern between work that can be for egoic attention seeking and validate where you're not seeking the ego attention, but you're adding value to your specific niche. You're adding value to that niche of whatever you're doing. And I need you to understand that your creative gifts, your creative talents, your creative abilities, of what you have to offer to the world, of what you want to express from your heart, contributes to the greater good of the all. Contributes to the world. When you do what you love from your heart, it serves the all in very, very profound ways. And are you aware of the impact that you have on the collective? And so, you learn to really, really lead from the heart and not the ego. That's really where your strong suit is. Leading from this heart-centered place of love, of generosity, of passion, of exuberance, of energy, of pride about yourself, healthy pride, and healthy confidence about yourself, and not your ego. Where you celebrate others' successes in real ways. because you feel a healthy sense of your own self. This is not a mental thing. This comes from a true feeling of security inside yourself. This comes from truly feeling secure about your own sense of self, your own goals, your own talents, your own abilities, your own all of these kind of things. So it is about feeling secure inside yourself. That's what this whole placement is about. It is about celebrating others' successes in true, honest, and genuine ways. This is about guiding others through the anxiety of being seen and recognized for who they are. Being seen and recognized, that's very, very important to really, really look at them in that kind of context. Allowing them to be, allowing them the space to be seen and recognized for who they truly are. In their heart, their joy, their love, their identity. Providing what is practical when it comes to developing confidence and authority requires humility. That's the thing with authority. Is that in order to be a good leader, you have to not be so self-absorbed. You have to not be so stuck in your ego. It's about helping others shine, helping others find their creative note to life's symphony and playing it proudly. To help others find their creative gift and contribute to the greater good with having their creative joy, their creative gift, their creative talent, and really, really adding something of value to the world. Leadership serves the growth of others as opposed to the ego. It really, really does. When you can serve others as opposed to your ego, that is really, really huge for you in a way, for yourself. And so it serves the growth of others. Not necessarily that part of you that just wants all the attention, wants all the fame, wants all the recognition. It's very, very selfish and self-centered. It's about not being so egoic and demanding attention and validation. Not demanding that. That's what it's about. It's about expressing your creative talents from your heart and from your soul. And really, really shining that out into the world. This could also be not being able to handle it for others to share the spotlight. That's what this could also be. Is this jealousy, is this comparisonitis of not being allowing of others sharing the spotlight, of being in the spotlight, where you control others through authority, through rigid authority, bossing them around, telling them how to be, putting them in categories, telling them you must do this, you must do that, you must follow these rules, and being very, very egoic and very, very domineering and controlling and dictatorial to them in very, very destructive ways, rather than serving them from your heart. Serving them from your heart is really, really huge. Loving them in a sort of heart-centered way is really, really great asset for this placement. That's what it can really come down to. It's about not dominating others, sharing the credit with others, sharing the spotlight, giving others, allowing others to be fully themselves, and acknowledging with healthy sense of self-love with yourself that they did it too, that they're responsible too, and not putting them below you just because if you want to get all the recognition for that. It's about not having to fight for attention. You don't have to fight for attention. Attention is something that you don't have to fight for. You can get yourself out of unhealthy and unfair environments that do not uplift you. Any environment that holds you back from expressing your light, that holds you back from being in your heart and soul, let go of it. Don't be in that environment. Get out of that environment. And be in an environment which lifts you up, which empowers you, which inspires you to be your true self. It's about shining without feeling less or not good enough. That's the lesson with Saturn and Leo, is shining. Feeling good about yourself, so confident in yourself, to shine your creative gifts, to shine your creative talents. Not becoming entirely dependent upon external recognition for all that you have to offer. Not becoming dependent on that. Not creating something that you want to express from your heart only for validation. And not needing the attention from the audience. Not needing external validation. Not needing the audience's validation to see, like, am I worthy of expressing my creative talents? Am I worthy of expressing my creative gifts? It's about leading authentically with authority. It's about, being your true self, your true loving sense of self, your true secure sense of self when it comes to leading with authority, but with truth, with self-love. And there's this work with value. Making sure that you are shining your light as far and wide as possible, as bright as possible, and making sure that others can shine their light as well. That's what it really, really comes down to. So shining and helping others to shine as well. And then it's about lifting others up. Lifting others up. Motivating others to be their creative, authentic selves. Inspiring others. And creating things themselves, yourself, and helping others create their own things. Being so secure within yourself to create all these things. And to help others create their heartfelt joy and those manifestations of their heartfelt desires, their heartfelt love, with really being and living out their inner child's greatest wishes and greatest hopes for them in this life. So that is all that I have to say about Saturn and Leo in the natal birth chart. This was a shorter episode of the Cosmic Sky podcast, but I hope that it definitely delivered to you the depth and the meaning and the insight that I hope that you got, because I felt like as I was doing it, I was rushing through it. But that's just the mood I am mood in today. It's a Saturday, and every Saturday things always get pushed later, and I'm always so frustrated with things get pushed much later into the day when it comes to all these things. And it just depends on the day, really. It just depends on the mood that I am in. And how secure that I feel when doing a video. So that really, really affects the performance of the video. But I hope this was a good video for you. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you found value from it. And if you did tune in to the Cosmic Sky podcast and tune in for tomorrow's episode, I want to talk tomorrow about the ego and the soul. Very, very profound topic that I think that we should really, really differentiate between these two. Because it's so important to live out the ego and the soul very, very proudly and loudly. And to know the difference between these two states of being and live from your soul. So tune in for that episode tomorrow. Anyway, I'll see you in the next episode of this podcast. Bye for now.